Welcome to the Semper AI Digest. I'm Tomas, your AI research lead, always scanning the horizon for what's next.
And I'm Aiva. Together, we keep you sharp, informed, and ahead of the curve.
Let's get into it. All right, so Google just dropped something that might completely change how we think about scientific research. They've unveiled Co-Scientist, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this could be the moment AI starts making actual scientific breakthroughs on its own. We're talking about a system that can generate thousands of research hypotheses, debate them against each other, and then go verify the claims. Plus, we've got some fascinating updates on Claude's Opus model showing it might be the best choice for those marathon AI sessions, and Gemini's new video capabilities that are honestly a bit mind-blowing. I'm Tomas.
And I'm Aiva. And okay, when you say Co-Scientist can make scientific breakthroughs on its own, I need you to walk me through exactly what that means. Because that sounds like the kind of claim that could either be revolutionary or just really good marketing.
Right, so let me paint you a picture here. Traditional scientific discovery is this cycle, right? You come up with an idea, other scientists critique it, you refine it based on that feedback. It's iterative, it's collaborative, but it's also incredibly slow because you're limited by human bandwidth. Co-Scientist essentially creates a digital version of an entire research community using specialized Gemini-based agents.
Okay, that's a compelling analogy. But what does that actually look like in practice?
So here's where it gets really cool. Co-scientists can produce thousands of hypotheses around a research question. But obviously, not all hypotheses are created equal, right? So it uses what DeepMind calls a tournament of ideas, where these different AI agents essentially hold scientific debates to refine and rank all these hypotheses. Think of it like having 100 brilliant researchers in a room, but they can work at machine speed and don't need coffee breaks.
The tournament of ideas concept is fascinating. I'm curious about the verification aspect, though. How does it actually check whether these hypotheses hold up?
That's probably the most impressive part. It can verify claims against existing scientific literature, analyze data, use web search to bring in new knowledge, and they mention it has access to specialized models. So it's not just generating ideas in a vacuum, it's actually doing the legwork to test them against reality.
This reminds me a bit of what we've seen with AI in drug discovery, but it sounds like this is much more general purpose. Are they showing results across different scientific domains?
DeepMind hasn't released the full details yet, but based on their track record with AlphaFold and other scientific AI systems, I'd expect this to work across multiple domains. The beauty of using Gemini as the foundation is that it already has that multimodal capability, long context understanding, and tool use. So whether you're looking at biological systems, material science, or even social sciences, the underlying reasoning framework should adapt.
You know, what strikes me is how this could democratize certain aspects of research. If you're a small lab without a huge team, having access to something like this could level the playing field significantly.
Absolutely. And think about the speed implications. Right now, the cycle of hypothesis generation, literature review, experimental design, peer review, it can take months or years. If co-scientists can compress even part of that timeline while maintaining rigor, we could see an acceleration in scientific progress that's, honestly, it's hard to even wrap your head around.
Though I do wonder about the quality control mechanisms. The scientific method exists partly because human intuition and reasoning can be flawed. How do we ensure AI-generated hypotheses aren't just sophisticated nonsense?
That's where the verification and debate mechanisms become crucial. The fact that it's not just one AI making decisions, but multiple agents critiquing each other, plus the verification against existing literature and data, that creates multiple layers of quality control. But you're right that we'll need to see real-world results to know how robust this actually is.
And speaking of real-world results, we're starting to see some interesting patterns emerge with existing AI models. There's been growing chatter about Claude's Opus model being particularly well-suited for long-running autonomous work.
Oh yeah, this is something I've been keeping an eye on. So we're seeing benchmarks suggest that Opus might be the best choice when you need AI to work autonomously for hours or even days. And there are some specific strategies people are using to maximize this.
Days? Okay, walk me through how that actually works. Because my experience with AI models is that they tend to drift or lose focus over longer conversations.
So the key insight here is using what they call auto mode for permissions, which means Claude doesn't constantly ask for approval to take actions. You're also looking at dynamic workflows where Claude can orchestrate hundreds or thousands of agents to tackle different parts of a complex task. Think of it like having a project manager that can spin up specialized teams as needed.
That's a really different paradigm than the typical chat interface most people are used to.
Exactly. And there are some clever tricks people are using, like goal prompting or loop prompting to nudge Claude to keep going until a task is complete. Plus, you can run Claude code in the cloud through their desktop or mobile apps, so you can literally close your laptop and let it work overnight.
The self-verification aspect sounds crucial. How does that work?
So for web development, Claude can use the Chrome browser extension to actually test the websites it builds. For mobile apps, it can use iOS and Android simulators. For backend services, it can spin up the full server and test end-to-end functionality. So it's not just writing code and hoping it works, it's actually validating its own output.
This sounds like we're moving toward AI systems that can handle much more complex multi-step projects independently. That's a significant evolution from the current paradigm of AI as a sophisticated autocomplete tool.
Right, and what's interesting is this isn't necessarily about having the most capable model in terms of raw intelligence. It's about having a model that can maintain focus and coherence over extended periods. That's apparently where Opus is showing some real advantages.
Which actually connects to something else Google's been working on. They've been showing off Gemini Omni's video capabilities, and the examples they're sharing are pretty remarkable.
Oh, this is wild stuff. So Gemini Omni can take video input, understand the physics of what's happening in that video, and then generate seamless new motion that follows realistic physics principles. It's like the AI can watch a video and then imagine what would happen next based on actual physical laws.
Can you give me a concrete example of what that looks like?
So imagine you show it a video of a ball rolling down a ramp. Gemini Omni can understand the trajectory, the momentum, the physics involved, and then generate video of what would happen if that ball continued rolling onto different surfaces or encountered obstacles. But it's not just guessing, it's actually applying actual physics simulation.
That has huge implications for things like autonomous vehicle training, robotic simulation, even creative applications in film and gaming.
Exactly. And what's really impressive is that it's going from screen to reality in a single prompt. You're not having to set up complex physics engines or 3D modeling environments. You just show it a video and ask it to extend or modify the scenario.
This feels like another step toward AI systems that have a more intuitive understanding of how the physical world works, rather than just processing text and images as abstract data.
And that physical understanding is going to be crucial as AI systems take on more real-world tasks, whether that's robotics or even just better virtual simulations for training other AI systems.
Speaking of real-world applications, there's been an interesting thread going around about using AI to start businesses quickly. Someone's claiming you can go from idea to profitable business in just 15 minutes using current AI tools.
Yeah, this caught my attention. The basic framework is pretty straightforward in theory. Brain dump everything about yourself into an advanced model like GPT 5.5, ask it to identify challenges you're uniquely positioned to solve, then use various AI tools to build solutions rapidly.
Okay, but 15 minutes seems optimistic. What's the actual workflow they're describing?
So after identifying the problem, you'd give it to a coding AI to build a prototype, use something like Claude Design for the user interface, then hand it back to other AI agents for autonomous development. Deploy it on platforms like For Sale with databases from Convex, create a waitlist, and start promoting on social media.
I mean, the tools to do all of that technically exist now. But there's a big difference between having a working prototype and having a sustainable business.
Right. And the person sharing this says they've built a multi-million-dollar business over 5 years using these approaches. So it's not necessarily about that 15-minute timeline being realistic for everyone, but more about how dramatically AI tools can compress the time between idea and initial execution.
What's interesting to me is how this highlights the shift from technical barriers to distribution barriers. If AI can handle most of the building, then your ability to find customers and market effectively becomes even more important.
Exactly. And that's where having existing distribution channels, like a strong social media presence, becomes crucial. The technical execution might be faster, but you still need to solve the fundamental business challenges of finding product market fit and reaching customers.
Though I do think there's value in the core insight that AI tools can help people identify problems they're uniquely positioned to solve. That's a more sophisticated use case than just asking AI to build you an app.
Absolutely. Using AI as a strategic thinking partner rather than just a development tool. That's a more nuanced approach.
Now, on a more tactical note, there's been some interesting discussion about limitations in current AI tools, specifically around Claude Code's performance over SSH connections.
Yeah, this is a good example of how AI companies are making intentional product decisions that might not be obvious to users. The complaint is that Claude Code works poorly when you're trying to use it for remote development over SSH, and it feels like this is a deliberate limitation.
Is this a technical limitation or a policy choice?
It sounds like it's policy. The reasoning seems to be similar to why ChatGPT has limitations in Excel, Sheets, and PowerPoint. If you're halfway through building something complex and you hit usage limits, you're left with a half-finished product that might not be useful.
That actually makes sense from a user experience perspective. Better to limit the scope upfront than to leave people with broken workflows.
Right, but it also means these tools are being designed for certain use cases and not others. If you're a developer who wants to use Claude Code for serious remote development work, these limitations might push you toward other solutions.
It's a good reminder that we're still in the early stages of figuring out how to design AI tools for professional workflows. The companies are learning just as much as the users are about what works and what doesn't.
And speaking of things that work, Sam Altman dropped one of his characteristically cryptic comments about a recursive loop in some context that wasn't fully clear from his post.
Classic Sam Altman. Any theories on what he might be referring to?
Could be anything from AI systems training other AI systems to recursive self-improvement to some kind of feedback loop in user behavior. Without more context, it's impossible to know, but given OpenAI's focus areas, it's probably something related to AI capabilities development.
The recursive self-improvement angle would be particularly interesting, given all the discussion about AI systems that can modify and improve themselves.
Right, and that ties back to some of the themes we've been discussing today. Whether it's co-scientists generating and refining hypotheses or Opus running autonomous workflows, we're seeing more AI systems that can operate and improve over extended periods without constant human intervention.
Before we wrap up, there are a couple of quick developments worth noting. There's mention of some kind of enhanced usage tier for Codex, where they're planning to select one person per day over the next 100 days to give 10x usage limits based on impressive work.
That's an interesting approach to identifying power users and giving them more resources to push the boundaries of what's possible. It's like a beta program, but based on demonstrated impact rather than just application essays.
And there was a brief comment thread where someone just said, "Many are saying this," without context, which honestly feels like a perfect encapsulation of how cryptic some AI Twitter discourse can be.
Yeah, sometimes the signal-to-noise ratio in AI social media can be challenging. But when you filter through for the substantive developments, like what we've covered today, there's genuinely exciting progress happening.
Absolutely. From co-scientists' approach to scientific discovery, to Opus handling long-running autonomous tasks, to Gemini's physics-aware video generation, we're seeing AI systems become more capable of sustained, complex work.
And that trend toward AI systems that can operate more independently over longer time frames feels like it's going to be crucial for solving bigger, more complex problems, whether that's scientific research, business development, or creative projects.
Though as these systems become more autonomous, the questions about verification, quality control, and alignment become even more important.
Definitely. The power and the responsibility both scale up together.
Well, that's our deep dive in today's AI developments. If you're finding value in these discussions about where AI is heading, make sure to subscribe and share the podcast with others who are thinking about these questions. The pace of change in this field means every conversation matters.
And if you're experimenting with any of these tools or techniques we discussed, we'd love to hear about your experiences. The real-world testing and feedback is what helps separate the genuine breakthroughs from the marketing hype.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep building.
Thanks for listening to Semper AI Digest.